Does it have to be hard? I am 44 and my wife is the same age. My separation is the result of a bizarre series of events in which I'd like to share. After being married for 9 years, my wife decided to leave, stating that she was stressed from the kids and she felt in the middle all the time. Her 3 kids, my stepkids, while traveling to visit her daughter, 19, who is in college and was depressed from just breaking up with her boyfriend. My wife decided to contact an old friend of mine who lives on the East Coast to discuss depression about her daughter with him. His sister suffered from this. While contacting him, the discussion turned physical. She always had something for him which I noticed in past gatherings and such but thought it was just innocent flirting. Anyway, he decided to bash me and convince her to leave me, citing I wasn't worthy. She'd be happier without me, etc. He has known to break up couples in the past and garners a sick pleasure from doing so. When she returned, about a week went by where she was cold, discerning, aloof and distant, although these signs were prevalent before she left as well. Constant texting, avoiding me, etc. Then, one morning after going out with friends, where she ignored me all night, she said she was leaving me. It was shortly after this that I checked her online phone bill and noticed numerous texts and calls to him. Starting the day she went to visit her daughter, he persuaded her to leave me, and he brainwashed her into doing so. He's very persuasive and manipulative. I stayed in the house for 2 months before moving, which was hell. I caught her texting to him one night, taking off her nightie, and I constantly asked her about their contact. I received answers from none of your business to who cares to denial, all out of sync with each other. They were still in contact. When I moved out, I later discovered she slept with him the night I moved out. She picked him up at the airport and they had a good time in her car. He was in town to pick up his vehicle. This was planned, as she wanted me out a month earlier because of this night. The next 8 months led to my wife engaging in wild things with married men and other women. She would tell me these episodes outright, even showing me videos of her things with strangers which were on her phone. It ruined me. I asked her not to, but she proceeded, and I was like a deer in the lights. She turned into a crazy person, all fronted from her and my ex-friends sharing their stories and sending videos back and forth to each other. They had no intention of being together as a couple, just friends who shared these stuff. He got her into this, as she was never like this before or had this type of character. Her niece told her she needed help but refused. She showed and told these stories to her friends, fooled around with guys at work, during work, in a school. She was out of control. She even told me she didn't use protection and was getting checked for STD all the while. We kept in contact throughout our separation, and she used me for money and favors. I couldn't believe what she turned into, all under the influence of this idiot. After a year, this plagues my mind daily. We haven't spoken in a month. She accuses me of guilting her and manipulating her when I bring this up. She shuts down the conversation instantly. She was a different woman, uncaring, hurtful, and was hypnotized by this adventurous lifestyle. Her dirty stuff was with married couples which floored me. It was like she was proud of it, rubbing it into me. I learned that she told someone I knew that I was a mistake and I should have stayed as a renter instead of a husband when I moved into her home after we met. I saw her through a series of crises with her kids and ex-husband through the 9 years we were married. Her kids were also hard to deal with, as I was the stepdad and it wasn't easy. I believe her and my ex-friend are still in contact. She slept with him at Christmas when he came home. I believe she is attempting a relationship with someone new now, but I don't know if this dirty stuff has ceased. I am hurt and broken. I've seen 5 counselors, and even though I'm getting better, I can't believe our healthy and happy marriage, which it was, turned into this mainly because of one backstabber. I think that knowing she was always like this is a little more reassuring than thinking she turned into this, for some reason. Don't know why, but thanks for that. I still wake up and go to bed asking why. Couldn't she be normal, or easier to read, or grounded? It was truly over before it began. I should have seen it. Took me home from a bar, then asked me if wanted to go home after bonding. I said no, I'd like to spend the night. Then I was hooked. 6 months later, I'm living in her house. 5 months after that, I'm married, she proposed, half-heartedly. Well, you want to get married. Why not? Only put me on the mortgage when she needed my income to refinance the home. Told me I should have been a renter, and then said I was a mistake. And on and on. She married her first husband at 19. He was 36. All her kids are from him. I guess that's a sign too. How early she married. After 12 years with him, she went 10 months single. Then had a guy move in with his 2 kids, only to see him leave her a year later. Said her kids were too stressful. After 10 months single again, she met me. I lasted 9 years, then she dumped me. And yes, she gave me the I've never lived my life crap too. As for the house, I took $20,000 and walked. It was a good move as the market is terrible and it's been on the market for over a year. No movement. She priced it too high. She'll be lucky to get 10 grand after all this. She's sinking financially, but I'm clear of the money mess. But whatever, she said I was taking 20 grand. When I said how about 25, she looked at me with shark wide eyes and yelled, it's my ducking house. But she put me on the mortgage 8 years ago when she needed to refinance, needed my income. And that was the only reason. I see now. I'm feeling better and accepting that she was a monster and toxic. The whole 9 years was a waste. I don't even have kids of my own and would have liked to. She was tied when I met her. Now at 44, I doubt I will. She robbed me of a family, in which I decided to embrace hers as mine. The signs were there and I was in love, and she gave me just enough to keep me hooked. Looking back, I don't believe she truly loved me at all. I should have walked like the guy before me. No heartfelt sentiments or deep chats in 9 years. And never an I love you while looking in my eyes. Always while looking away. These things I remember. I hate to say it, but you're right. She didn't force. She held the phone in my face and it was playing. Yes, I should have been strong and told her to get out, but I'll be honest. I was so dumbstruck that I watched and was in disbelief. Only a couple of times, but it was like a car accident. I just couldn't believe my eyes and that she was actually doing this. Also, I tried to be strong and show her I didn't care. Tried to seem like I didn't care and was unaffected. But the aftermath, what it did to my subconscious is what took the toll. Just the fact that she attempted to disclose this was hurtful. No. And when she began to relay these stories verbally, I did cut her off with stop. Just the fact that she was willing to show me was damaging in itself. I was weak, I admit it, and my city isn't that large. I heard many things from many others. Been a month of no contact at all. I should have never texted, talked, seen her. That's the reason, and my mistake, for the state I'm in. I admit, I was weak, and not myself. I don't speak to my stepdaughter anymore. 20, never accepted me. Jealous I spent time with her mom, and has issues from her first dad, and truly turned when her mom left me. 19-year-old stuck up for me until mom told him I didn't want him to move back home. He had drug, booze issues, and I told her he'd have to get help first since he was a detriment to our marriage. He turned on me and his mom, since his mom refused him to come home 3 months later as well. I still see the 16-year-old boy. We're pretty close. I practically raised him and he's a good kid. The other two played back and forth with mom, dad the whole time I was married to her. I wanted a family. If she wasn't tied, I probably would have had my own kids with her. Luckily, I didn't. She was a people pleaser, took me into her home, and seemed proud of me. But the negatives outweigh the positives, which I see now. I was blinded by a new love, an attractive woman, and a new family. That, despite its horrendous dysfunction, offered me a role to play as dad and husband, but it was always me versus them. I received barely any support from her when trying to discipline the kids or tell them not to tell their mom to duck off or follow some rules in the house. She let most of this slide, and when she left, she said, I don't want to be in the middle anymore. But she never discussed issues at all, or rarely, during the marriage. She shut me down when I brought them up with statements like, don't stress me out or stop guilting me. Yes, there were times in the last 3 months where I said to myself, out loud, that I should leave, but I stayed hoping it was just a hump we could get over. Maybe I would have felt empowered in deciding to leave. I don't know, but you and other posters are correct. I should have left early on. She has left such a scar on my psyche that it feels I'll never recover. It's not just one event. It's layers of things that happened. I'm trying to be strong. Looking at all I lost, such as a family, home, lifestyle, it's quite disheartening. But I'm trying to overcome it one day at a time. I received a few texts from her yesterday, out of the blue. I'm going to relay a few things she said in them, and I would like you to offer up your input and opinions, as I'm a little confused. I keep her number because of my stepson, BTW. How are things? Are you playing ball? Did you get that full-time teaching position at the college? Are you with anyone? Are you happy? Bill and I are moving forward. I met his kids last week. I only realized how much he likes me last week. I am getting my confidence back. He has lots of laughs like you. I've always been a one-guy girl. I cried over all my bills I have to pay. The house won't sell. When you buy your car, you'll have to show me. Blue is my favorite color. You're a good person. I still feel sad about us. I still don't want to live with anyone. Coffee soon, okay. Or is that a bad idea? A few counselors told me this was some of the most extreme physical addiction, if that what it was, they've ever heard of. She actually bragged to me and some others about this. Even tried to show me a video on her phone of her and a guy at our house after I moved out. She showed this to a bunch of girls at a Fantasia party. I saw the beginning but turned away. I don't know. She was out of control. I think it may have just been a phase of confusion and low self-esteem. Not sure, but this was not the woman I knew or married. It messed my head up bad. I did not respond to her Thursday texts. And yesterday, out of the blue again, I get this text. The lawnmower won't start. Don't tell me this. I don't care. I didn't respond. And an hour later, I got it started after 40 pulls. Again, I didn't respond. I brushed it off. I would never attempt reconciliation, so I will tell her to stop contacting me. If I was in a relationship, I would not be texting my ex-wife over such trivial things. Ego kibbles maybe. Unreal. I truly realize I've been weak and too analytic this whole separation time. The hurt, pain, missing her, and anxiety are gone. She used me, and all of you are correct. I've no reason for contact or ties to her at all. It was this kick in the back I needed. I'm done. No contact. Ignore and avoid. She's a mess that can't be cleaned up. I agree. There is no doubt in my mind that she is not only texting me, but a number of other guys while 3 months into her new relationship, which puts an even greater perspective on what kind of person she truly is. A few months back, she verbally stated, "I want you to find someone so I'm off the hook." If that doesn't speak volumes, I don't know what does. Among the other things she said and done, sometimes I think I'm so fascinated with the complexity, the ruthlessness, and the corrupt makeup of this woman that it floors me. Still in disbelief that I dedicated 9 years of my life to this. I feel shamed, embarrassed, and a chump. I almost entertain the thought of going for coffee with her, but realize 2 things. 1, she is only offering this to alleviate guilt, and even if I said yes, she wouldn't follow through. 2, she wants to test the waters to see if she can ask me for money yet again. I won't see her and won't respond to her contacts. There is no good that can come from any of it. Seeing the financial bind she's in. Her new man 6 years her senior with a good job, and 7 years removed from a 20-year marriage because his wife left him for religious reasons. I have a hard time seeing this unraveling, but then again, I may be naive to think she has changed and will stay faithful. Interested in him. Maybe her text that stated she doesn't want to live with anyone was a hint. She said this to me upon leaving me, and she said she doesn't want a relationship, yet 11 months later, she's in one. Why didn't I see this throughout the 9 years? Could it have emerged towards the end when she left me? Was it so subtle throughout that it bypassed me? Of course, in hindsight, I see signs with a struggle she had to be intimate, but rarely intimacy, and massive problems communicating, resolving issues and conflicts, and some red flags towards being faithful. Kissing some of my friends on the lips upon meeting them, with me standing right there. Had I sniffed this out in the early stages, I would have left. Angry I didn't see the emotional toxicity, as you put it. 1 year ago, on this very day, I moved out of our home and into an apartment. We were separated for 2 months already, and I remained in the home for 2 months to gather enough money to leave. I must say these 2 months were hell. It was within these 2 months that I acted on my gut feelings, because her excuse for leaving me, which was she was too stressed out from me, didn't sit right. Intimacy had stopped 3 months before this, so I had a feeling there was more to it. In the 2 months in the house, I logged onto her phone bill, and that's when I discovered she was texting my friend who lives out of province, among other numbers I didn't recognize. We had major fights for 2 months over this. She denied, lied, then said she was texting him for real estate advice, even though I caught her, unknowingly to her, texting him one late evening. She took off her nightie and took a pic, sent, and I threw up. For 8 months we had bond once a week, at my request. Call it hysterical bonding, I guess. I was treated terribly, dismissed and shunned, but she would easily come over, text me when she needed something. I succumbed. Again, how stupid of me. Here I am a year later, still alone and still sad, but healing. No contact has helped, despite a few texts from her, but I do not respond or initiate. She is 3 months into a new relationship, and apparently it is moving forward. She met his kids, etc. I dated a couple times but nothing has come of it. I miss her. Yes, I miss my old life at my nice house, my stepson, my dog. I miss the way my wife used to be, not the crazy person or betrayer or liar she turned into. I'm moving forward. Hopefully, the sadness and pain will all be gone soon. Divorce is coming. I'm trying hard to get rid of all the layers of pain, after several counselors and friends' advice. Hope this is a better year, because I just lost an entire one. How did she never get caught at the school she works at? How could she chill with the married janitor during school hours? How could she chill with 25-year-old in a dirty alley that night, and then have slept with 2 men a few hours later who high-fived each other as they hang out with her? How could she show up at a married couple's home that she never met and have slept with them while their young kids were sleeping in another room? How could she let a man she never met choke her and spit on her and urinate on her when she was scared, with his wife watching, and not leave? How could she spend $100 on random things when her son needs shoes and asks her to buy them, but say she has no money? How could she even ask me for a bar of soap while visiting my apartment, to take to her next session? How could she have slept with other women and then tell me it's to turn the guy on and that she doesn't really like it? How could she pick my friend up at the airport the very night I moved out of our house, and then sleep with him in her car when she should have been sad about me leaving after 9 years? How could she tell me the flowers I bought her every Valentine's Day for 9 years were just to show her work friends up, and didn't mean anything? How could she call me a mistake? How could she even offer and then show me a video of her and a guy she just picked up at a bar and send him in our bedroom, and be proud of it? How could she show the same video at a fantasy party and think these women want to see it? Does her new man of 3 months know about her recent past? Do her kids? Does her family know? How can she ask me for money, get it from me, and then never respond to a text, or dismiss me, or avoid me. How did I end up marrying such a goddamn mess? She had to go home to her son after these incidents, and she told her friends these things. I wonder what they truly think of her. I'm hoping, as bitter as this may sound, that her new man catches wind of this too. She told me she never spent the night. She always left or sent them home. My friend saw her sitting in Pervert's Row one evening last summer, watching the female strippers. Apparently, it's easy to pick up a guy by doing this because these guys are hot and ready from watching the stage shows, so they are easy prey. There are so many incidents that know of, and everyone made me sicker and more disgusted in her. I am quite sure she found many of her listings on Craigslist. Yet she told me that once you are in the circle, other couples pass on her number and it's like a chain. I am so foreign to this lifestyle. She was a great mom, great cook, family-oriented, seemed caring, but I now have a whole new perspective of her. I know we were separated at this point, but her actions made me think that this stuff could have been going on while I was married to her, and I was in disbelief that it was actually happening, and so extreme, that she was telling me this, and that it may have been fabricated. But it wasn't. Others told me some of this stuff because they couldn't believe it either. I never thought of brain tumor, but all of her other faculties seemed fine. Just that her moral compass was smashed and she was now a disgusting monster I never knew. Aside from all the lying stuff she did after our separation, what truly hurts the most, and I feel is the final catalyst to help me move on, is the fact that she slept with my friend the night I moved out. Why? Because after 9 years, this should have been a time for her to be sad, reflect on our life together. It was my first night away for the last 9 years. The finale, instead of showing any remorse, or empathy, or nostalgia, or a glimmer that she was going to miss me, she instead slept with my friend 4 hours later. A planned event where she picked him up at the airport at 9:30 that night and had chilled in her car with him. Before she left my apartment that evening, with all my boxes and stuff strewn around, she stood at the door, opened her arms, and hugged and kissed me. She looked me in the eyes and said she loved me, and said, "We can do this." Glossy eyes but no tears. "We can do this" was referring to the fact that we can be friends still. But her mind was focused on what she was going to do next, not on me. So, with this I'll never forget. This will be the event that trumps all the other cruel and hurtful stuff, and I will use it every time I think about her. I will use this to validate the true woman she really was. I guess the bargaining has to stop. The teetering between back and forth in my mind. That plagues me every night and every morning. Was she a good wife or not? Did she cheat during our marriage or not? Did she love me or not? It's cyclical. Now I feel okay because she probably was good. Wait, now I feel down because I lived in her deception for 9 years has to stop. I am on the brink, if not there now, of insanity. And me saying this is not just rhetoric and hyperbole. I truly think I am. But I have to come to the decision that yes, bad things happen to good people. I wasn't perfect. In fact, I know where I went wrong. Didn't help pay for groceries. Didn't participate in her group events, parties, time with family enough. Said nasty things about her kids to her. But none of that is worthy of a marriage breakdown. There were never any discussions about any friction we had from her, or issues that she thought were important. I offered discussion many times, but was either ignored, postponed and forgotten about, or downplayed, and we really didn't have much arguing or fighting the whole 9 years. We rarely fought, period. Bottom line, I didn't cheat. I was faithful. I loved her. I would have tried to work it out. I loved her. I put up with crises and dilemmas and didn't walk away. I was always there for her. Through the meds and the depression and the months of her sleeping nonstop, I was there for her. When we got along and enjoyed each other for that long without a major feud between us. When this trip together as husband and wife was so utterly different than everyone else's in that we literally had no turmoil between us as a couple, and didn't fight, and supported each other, and rubbed each other's backs, and enjoyed coffee together every morning, and I'm not exaggerating. We had no problems that resulted in sleeping in different beds or spending the night at a relative's or threats or negative, fight dirty tactics. When you have all this, and then that person becomes what she became, it's more astounding than a slow lead-up that you can feel coming, or an all-out brawl where dishes are thrown, or endless days and nights of nagging and fighting that screams of divorce or separation. We had none of this. So, this is what makes it so hard, when you don't feel it coming. I don't know what's worse, the 3 to 4 month, deathly slow detachment of her intimacy that only now can regard in hindsight, her physical closeness daily losing ground, her acknowledging I'm in the room fading every day, or an all-out that's it, I'm leaving and gone. A month later, a text from the ex-wife asking if I could ask someone I know to hire on her 21-year-old daughter S.A.P., who hates me and is home from school this summer. Then how my ex is desperate and how she'd really appreciate it, and how she's in huge financial trouble. The house won't sell. She's on unemployment this summer, and she can't pay for her daughter's phone. Then a pic of my ex holding up a fish she caught at her new man's cottage a few weekends ago. I texted back only one response. I asked, "Seriously, do you love him?" Pretty sure was the prolonged response. I stepped back and looked at these texts, and I knew I was done. No anxiety, no why, no analyzing. Just a small, little goodbye in my mind that I actually mouthed out loud in my living room. Finally, I had done it. I felt nothing. I didn't care anymore. After all her dirty stuff, her lies, her excuses, her false love, I am done. Completely. Go ahead and move on with him. My mind began to drift to the mornings waking up with her, the evenings in the backyard sipping coffee, the Christmases and birthdays, what I had and what she became. How I was a damn good husband who never cheated, not even flirted. How I cried when she came out of back surgery successfully, and how I put up with countless consecutive nights of her just sleeping on the couch because of her meds and depression. I guess a year is about right. She loves another now. So, go ahead, love, but don't come to me when they foreclose on your house. Don't come to me when you need favors or money or anything. I wasn't perfect, but I loved her, and that's all I need to remember. What a year, looking back at what she turned into, and her intermittent cries for financial help which I answered that were never appreciated, and her manipulation. I feel disgusted in myself that I was a doormat, but let this be a lesson to many. I guess I thought there was a slight hope that if I continued to help her, she'd see the good in me and change and want to attempt reconciliation. I know now that was foolhardy of me. There are people out there who have no concern, regard, or empathy, and they will suck anything out of people, playing on the good nature, kind heart, and compassion of others. And sometimes we marry them. She once stated that I was a mistake. I'm happy to say that I now realize who the mistake really was. So, I'm a year and a half since my split, still separated and working on a divorce. I went through hell like all of you, depressed, hysterical bonding. Tried to maintain an amicable relationship which now I know I'm better off for not establishing. The hurt, pain, loneliness, scars from betrayal and lies have mostly all disappeared. My acceptance that she was no good and that her character is deplorable have settled in. I am still alone, have dated off and on, but have not settled with that special someone. She has, and has been with him for 8 months now, and I've even accepted this. The last text I left her with, we were keeping intermittent contact because of my stepson, and only she contacted me, not vice versa. I want to make that clear. Stated to her, how can you love anyone when you can't even love yourself? To which I got a duck-off text back, and did not respond. If anyone knows my backstory, she turned into a real skank and was with everyone and anyone once she left, even women. A little bit more than a year later, my ex called me about paperwork this weekend we both received from the government regarding our date of separation. We have to fill in our date of separation, etc. This is the first time we spoke since September. We were cordial. We spoke for 3 hours. She was driving down south to visit her daughter. We went over some good times, the reasons we weren't compatible, my shortcomings. Yet she never voiced hers even though I brought up the problems she presented, including lack of intimacy, too much texting, her pulling away, etc. She mentioned at least 4 times how she never cheated. I am skeptical of this because of her actions during the separation. Yet she proclaims this to be true. She turned into a B-days after we split. She slept with my friend the very night I moved out of the home after 9 years, and it was premeditated through texts throughout the 2 months I resided in the home while separated. She doesn't know I know this. I never revealed to her that I know this. Although in the past when I brought up that I caught her texting him right after we split, she said I ended talking to him. She did not. They kept texting, which led to their thing that night the night I left, and another that Christmas when he came to town again. The conversation ended okay. We talked about our new vehicles, her son's new job at a grocery store, and her daughter's last year in college that is ending soon. It's almost as though she was looking to make sure we were okay, or that she can go on in her life knowing I have no resentment. But I do, because her and my friend did one of the cruelest things ever to me, right in the thick of a fresh separation where she should have been lamenting our breakup. Even sicker, she said she contacted him to speak of her daughter's depression at the time. And depression is what led this ex-friend's sister to hang herself. So there was a commonality there. Yet my ex-wife did this without telling me. If it was so innocent, why did she do it behind my back? And then my ex-wife turned it into bonding. She admitted all this to me when I posed as a fake guy through text who pretended he wanted to hook up with her. She revealed everything to him, which was in fact, me. So, I know the truth, but I never told her I know. During this talk on Saturday, she told me how much more she has in common with this new guy of a year now, and how he is 300 pounds but it's the person who matters, etc. She then said that he never wants to live with her. And she said the same, but I think she was disappointed in his take on this. She said to me nothing lasts forever, and she lives day by day. But I think she was hoping to live with him in the future. But he doesn't want that. For the record, her and I will never get together again. She has done too much damage to me, and she will never want me again as a partner, which is very, very good. I agree with this, and in no way do I want her again in my life at all. So, my question is this: why can't I tell her I know about what she did? I think it might make me look weak at this point, 2 years later. It is a burden in my psyche that haunts me daily. Doesn't she deserve to know I know? She is living every day with the security that I don't have a clue, because if she found out I knew, she would know I understand what kind of low life she is. And it's important to her that she believes I think she didn't do this, for her own peace of mind. Should I just tell her? What does it matter now? Why is this such a roadblock for me? I feel she should pay for her wrongdoing somehow. It seems she is content by never admitting it to me, but by knowing I know, I may get relief knowing that some guilt has overshadowed her, even more so than already exists. I won't tell her how I know, but just the fact that she has done such a horrible thing that keeps me in limbo daily and has restrained my trust in other relationships thus far. If I can't trust my wife of 9 years, and a friend of 20 plus, how can I trust a new woman? I don't like being skeptical and looking for flags right away. It's stagnating my hope in entering a new relationship. I think she tries to check in with me from time to time. I do not contact her whatsoever, mind you, to make sure I don't know, as she probably thinks I will tell her new man, etc. One of my friends and his wife walked by her at a store recently, and they turned their heads away from her. She revealed this to me in our talk, and said she almost cried. I didn't comment whatsoever and changed the subject. She has no idea why my friend and his wife would do this, but I do. This 3-hour convo didn't hurt me, even though she said how much more her BF has in common with her than I did. I think this was a good sign. Even her releasing my shortcomings, yet again, had little impact. But she didn't once say that she did anything wrong in the marriage. Anyway, we didn't fight or yell or argue. I gave strong rebuttals to her points, and yes, some of the things she said I did were valid, and I admitted to them, but also stated that marriage is never perfect and you have to work on the struggles and the times the partner begins to take things for granted, etc. She admitted she didn't want to fix the marriage back then. This ended in a stalemate, but she shut me down in regard to me mentioning to her what a bee she was during separation. She stated, "Don't ever send me a text like that, or say that again." She is referring to a text I sent 6 months ago stating, "How can you love anyone when you can't even love yourself?" pertaining to how many men and women she slept with after me. Of course, this behavior of hers never entered the convo. Like it never happened, or it's a part of her life she rug swept forever. We ended this talk cordially, which sort of irks me because I think that is what she is looking for. Making sure I'm not an enemy, because God forbid, a people pleaser like her must have no enemies. I guess what I want is for her to suffer a bit, to know I realize what a louse she is. She will then fear I'll tell more people, and even her new man. But I won't. I did not see her suffer much when our marriage ended, mainly because she was in the thick of her promiscuity, which I believe masked any sorrow or lamenting she should have had. She filled her time with bedding half the city, deflecting her thoughts about the demise of our marriage. Even though I won't really see her suffering, if she does at all, I will still have released that she now knows I know the truth. It bothers her that some of my friends won't look at her in passing. Some will though, and talk to her etc. when they meet at a public place, etc. She wants to maintain a clean image, and believe it or not much about her dirty crap after we split is out there. I still wonder how she didn't get caught screwing a co-worker teacher and married janitor daily at her high school that she works, and not one for revenge, but shouldn't she pay for her lies just a little? My comment, OP's biggest mistake is engaging her after all these years. A mess walked out your life, but you keep walking back into the mess. Personally, I have met someone like that, and my best advice is just run.